I need to see him against, more live action. What I've seen so far, I've seen some good, I've seen some bad. But I'm willing to wait and see. I actually like the pickup of Rodney Hood, who they got, I think, with the 23rd pick. He was a guy that I actually, when it looked as though they weren't going to re-up with Gordon Hayward at a certain point, I thought that they maybe had that in mind. They had Rodney Hood kind of sliding into that role. Now they've got a lot of depth. Again, unproven talent, and they probably don't have nearly enough veteran leadership. So I don't want this to sound like I'm picking them out of this division, because they probably will still end up finishing last. I just don't think they'll be nearly as bad of a team moving forward.
Yeah, there's no way that they can't be better. Trey Burke. You look for him to take a step forward. Hayward had a surprisingly pretty good. It was surprising to me anyway. A decent year last year, I thought. And then Enes Kanter. I never know what to expect from these European guys. But there's so many jokes you can make around the name Enes. I'm just going to leave it out there and just let you guys fill in the blank.
God.
Well, the big guy.
You always have Enes on the brain, Keith. Always.
And I'll leave Utah alone after this, but the big guy to watch for them is Rudy Gobert. I don't know if you guys watched him in the preseason.
Yeah.
From the time when he was drafted last year to now, it's like night and day. He's getting much better, and he's actually looking like a great fit next to Derek Favors. So again, I know your listeners are like, wow, all this Utah Jazz talk. I might be the one guy that watched him throughout the year last.
The only reason I watch Utah Jazz games is try to count the wives in the stands.
They're not allowed to go to games, Keith.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
Let's be honest here.
Jeez, man, the Mormon ripping
Jesus,
already?
Jesus.
Yes, yeah.
You must be not a fan of the Mormons after watching Hell on Wheels. And I'm assuming none of you guys watch Hell on Wheels.
I watched the first season of Big Love, and I'm a big fan of the Mormons.
Okay. Well, in this division, and it's pretty bad right now. It's Thunder and Trailblazers. That's about it. But in a couple of years, the Timberwolves, they got some nice pieces out there, nice young pieces, and then the Jazz as well. And the Nuggets are always that sneaky team where, they don't have a superstar anymore like Melo. But I think Brian Shaw is going to be a good coach, and he's a good guy to have coaching with. I think he'll be a good guy for doing more with less in the future, kind of like a George Karl type. I think right now, obviously, with the loss of Durant for the first 6 to 8 weeks or so, that's going to hurt the Thunder. But I think we're going to see how good Russell Westbrook is. I don't think they're going to struggle nearly as much as anticipated. But with that loss, the difference between 2 and 7 in the Western Conference is like a 5-game difference every year. So I'm going to say, just because of that loss, the Blazers probably win this division. Thunder finish second. And I'm being nice with the Trailblazers because we all know their history of injuries as a franchise, so we're counting on them staying healthy. I'm going to go Blazers 1, Thunder 2, Nuggets 3, and then the Jazz and Timberwolves. Going to be fun to watch. Definitely going to be Jazz 4, Timberwolves 5.
All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree on 100% on everything Bob just said, especially how the teams lay out. I will be interested to see what Shaw does with Denver. I have a lot of bad memories of Brian Shaw from his playing days because he left my Celtics and became a hated Laker, but
a champion Laker,
a hated Laker. But I've been kind of following his career as an assistant coach, and I think he has a future. I think he definitely has some. He's been doing some good things in the preseason. I'd be interested to see what kind of a head coach he makes.
Jabari brought up a good point. Three-time champion. Brian Shaw.
Brian Shaw.
Yeah, but you sold your soul for 3 times.
Yeah, well, it's got 3 rings. Selling your soul is worth it, buddy. So
still not at 17 yet, though.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, he's got as many rings as Morpheus did in the movie 21 when he's punching that guy for stealing all his money from the casino.
Oh my God!
Can we talk a minute about the
Don't take
Portland,
the blue pill.
The Portland Trailblazers made a decent run in the playoffs, and they bring everybody back, and they add Chris Kaman. What's the worst that could happen? I mean, honestly.
I think the worst that could happen is they win one game against the Spurs in the second round again.
Oh,
yeah.
Well,
That's
I
the
mean,
worst-
part of
that's-
Portland.
Go ahead, sorry.
No, I apologize. I was saying part of Portland's run in that first round last year was because they faced an overrated Houston Rockets team. But that's neither here nor there. I just realized I haven't been giving the order. I agree with your guys' order, except for I actually think OKC is going to pull it out at the end. I think Portland's going to be out to a lead, but OKC by the end of things, as long as when KD comes back, it's not a matter of being extended for weeks upon weeks. I think they're still going to catch them and win that division. But everybody else I have the same.
See, I agree. I think I still think Portland's going to win the division, but I think OKC, once Durant gets back and they get back into the flow of things, they're definitely going to move farther into the postseason than Portland is. Mm-hmm. I think Kevin Durant's going to come back with a vengeance, especially after the All-Star break. I wouldn't be surprised if he just tears it up. I mean, he's definitely got a chip on his shoulder this year. Same with Westbrook.
The key is them not facing the Grizzlies in the playoffs, because that is one team, other than the Spurs are just good. The Grizzlies, I wouldn't, they're not the most talented team, but they are the biggest thorn in the side for the Thunder every time they face them in the playoffs. I mean, the one year they had, they lost them in the Western semis. They didn't have Westbrook. Last year they had Westbrook and almost lost to him in 7. If Randolph doesn't get suspended for 7, they might end up winning that series. As long as they don't face the Grizzlies, I do like them to make a long run in the West.
Yeah. And I agree with you. And I think one of the problems is when you face a team like the Grizzlies, they're putting too much reliance on a player like Kendrick Perkins, which I think he's one of definitely their weakest spots on that team.
Oh yeah.
Are they still not starting Steven Adams? Because I never understood that. I've got a lot of reservations with Brooks as a coach. I don't think he's terrible or anything like that, but let's just say I think he's a lot closer to average than many people acknowledge. I never understood why he was still starting Perkins even down the stretch last year.
According to ESPN.com, the depth chart still has Kendrick Perkins at the top.
No, I apologize. He was basically just saying, I think Steven Adams can give you everything that Perkins could do, but in a younger body with much more upside. I'm talking about on the defensive end, he can give you everything that Perkins can do on the offensive end. At least he can move around. He can be there for putbacks. He's a much livelier body. I don't understand. And no, this is not anti-Perk because he was from Boston. It's just a matter of I just don't understand why he's getting quality minutes at that.
No, I honestly, and as a Celtic fan, I couldn't agree more. I mean, to me, Kendrick Perkins has the mobility of an extra on The Walking Dead. He's like he has concrete feet.
Not even a star.
And he was even that way when he was playing for the Celtics. He doesn't have the mobility to keep up with some of these younger, faster. Or even, I mean, he's not even the biggest. I mean, you look at him against Gasol on Memphis, he can't keep up with him.
Nope. And again, it's not like he's good to have on your roster because you want to have a guy that's got toughness that can give you 6 fouls against some of the more dominant bigs or the more active bigs. But in terms of starting him, that just makes no sense whatsoever.
Exactly.
So the interesting angle with Oklahoma City going into the beginning of the season to me is if you remember a couple seasons ago when Westbrook got hurt in the playoffs, the Thunder fell apart in the playoffs immediately. Mm-hmm. If Durant being injured, obviously he's not going to be playing. If the Thunder don't miss a beat with Russell Westbrook running the team, you got some questions as to whose team this really is, I think. Not that Durant's not a hell of a player. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say any of that garbage. But as far as who's more important to this team, if Russell Westbrook plays well and the Thunder don't miss a beat without Durant, then you got some questions as to who's actually more important to this team.
Well, I still think that season you're talking about, one of the problems that Oklahoma City had is they were still dealing with the loss of Harden for that season because he was a major part of that team the season before. And then losing him and losing Westbrook, Durant, I think, he had so much more on his shoulders, but then the following year, they were able to kind of even things out a little bit more throughout the team as far as responsibilities and whatnot. Because you got to remember, the year before, it was a 3-player team. It was Westbrook, Harden, and Durant. It was those 3 and then a bunch of other people.
How did you guys come down on that trade? Because Bob can tell you, I was I said it was a stupid trade. You don't give when you have 3 young great players or potentially great players like they did. You do whatever it takes in order to keep them together. Obviously, hindsight is 2020. But how did you guys come out on that? I'm interested.
I thought it was dumb. I mean, to me, I thought. Depending on, I don't know what Harden's mentality was as being, he technically was the 3rd scorer on the team, and I don't think there was any argument behind Durant and Westbrook, but he seemed like that scrappy. I think Harden's a fantastic player, and I think he's not only a great scorer, or he has been on Houston, but he plays very good defense. He's a great rebounder. He's somebody that could be that scrappy 3rd player. So I thought the trade was really stupid. I think if he was on Oklahoma City, if he was still on that team, the last couple seasons in the West might have been very different. They definitely would have given San Antonio a much bigger run for the money.
I think they beat San Antonio without question. Sorry.
Well, I agree with that. I was, the whole thing is they got these guys together. They were all young. Him, Ibaka, Durant, Harden, Ibaka, Durant, Westbrook. They were all young. I think their thought process on it was, who's the most expendable piece here? And they had to decide between him and Ibaka. And they're like, well, at this point, Harden's going to be coming off the bench for us. Why would we pay him all this money? I think with how selfless those two were at the time, I don't think Harden is, obviously he had to change his mentality being the number 1 option with Houston. But, him and Ibaka, I think they could have made it work with those two splitting some of the money or however they could have done it. Or just bite the bullet and pay the luxury tax. I think that would have been just fine.
I think.
Well, remember they offered him 54 and he got 58 from Houston. In my mind, I'm like, come on, you can't find a way to make $4 million for it?
Yeah, it's true.
And not for nothing. I think the Thunder have to be regretting that trade because they have not been the same team ever since that, especially in the playoffs.
No, and, Ibaka, as good as he is defensively, Harden's not great defensively, but, he's just like Durant and Westbrook where he scores. He plays good team. He played good team defense for them, and then he gets to the line. And all the ripping on Harden from Laker fans and people who are Melo fans and all that, all the ripping on him. He gets they're like, oh, he shoots too many free throws. It's like, oh, that's a bad thing, and he shoots a high percentage of the free throw line. That's a bad thing. My bad. Okay. Yeah. Harden's a terrible player.
I think Ibaka's immensely overrated. Immensely overrated.
Great rim protector and defender, but that's where it ends. I don't care about a guy that is 7 foot that every so often can hit a corner 3. Like that does nothing for me.
Exactly.
Isn't that player called Chris Bosh?
Oh,
yeah, but he hit some timely ones. I'll give him that.
He does hit timely ones. You're right.
All right.
And
Ibaka hit.
When Bosch was a 24-10 guy at one point, so let's ease up on the Bosch.
I'll change it to Manute Bowl. How about that?
Oh, Jesus.
Okay.
Now we've gone too far, and it's time to move on to the Pacific Division because Jabari's only got like 3 more minutes left. So let's get to the Pacific Division. Golden State, Clippers, Lakers, the Suns, and Sacramento. The Clippers and Golden State seem to be the number 1 and number 1A in this division, correct? Yes? No? I kind of like what Phoenix has done in the offseason, but they just never seem to be able to put it together.
Yeah, they need to bring D'Antoni back.
That's never
he's available. I heard he's available at least.
If D'Antoni's the answer, what the hell is the question?
I don't know. You'd have to ask somebody who's writing questions on Jeopardy.
Oh, my God.
Who is a coach that is considered to be innovative that has never reached the finals for $100?
Ding 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 ding. I don't have my game show sound effects loaded up here. So.
he would have made the finals if it wasn't for David Stern suspending Murray and Boris Diaw.